The quiet cowboy everyone ignored, but one girl knew his secret. People in Dry Creek used to say that silence was dangerous, not because quiet people were evil, but because the most dangerous men never needed to raise their voices. And no one in that dusty little town was quieter than the cowboy who lived alone beyond Blackstone Ridge. Every morning before sunrise, he rode into town on the same old dark horse. Same black hat, same worn leather coat, same cold eyes that never stayed on anyone for too long. He'd buy coffee, feed for his horse, sometimes ammunition, then disappear again without saying more than 2 or 3 words. Nobody knew his real name. Nobody knew where he came from. And after what happened 12 years earlier, nobody dared ask. The older people in town called him the Ghost Cowboy. The younger men called him a coward. Because despite carrying a revolver on his hip, no one had ever seen him use it. Not once. So over time, the stories changed. People stopped fearing him and started mocking him instead. Especially the Carter brothers, 3 rich ranchers who practically owned Dry Creek. Violent men. Cruel men. Men who smiled while ruining lives, and they loved humiliating the quiet cowboy every chance they got. But the cowboy never reacted, never argued, never fought back, which only made the town respect him less, until the girl arrived. Her name was Lily Hart, 19 years old, city girl, soft voice, sharp eyes. She arrived in Dry Creek on the last stagecoach before winter, carrying 1 suitcase and a folded letter from her dead father. She rented the tiny room above the old bakery and started working at Miller's Diner. And the first thing she noticed about Dry Creek was fear. Not fear of storms, not fear of outlaws, fear of the Carter brothers. Everyone lowered their eyes when they walked by. Everyone stayed silent when they laughed at people. Even the sheriff avoided trouble with them. But one night, Lily noticed something strange. The oldest Carter brother, Wade, cornered an old farmer outside the diner. The poor man was trembling. Apparently, he owed money. Wade shoved him hard into the mud while people watched from a distance, pretending not to see. And sitting quietly near the hitching post was the cowboy, drinking coffee, alone. Lily expected him to help, but he didn't move. Wade laughed loudly. "See that?" he shouted to the crowd. "Even the ghost knows better than to cross me." The town laughed nervously. The cowboy simply stood, paid for his coffee, and walked away. Lily stared at him in disgust. That night she heard people whispering, "Told you he's nothing. All hat and no courage. Probably hiding from his past." But something about him didn't feel weak to her. Weak men talk too much. Weak men try too hard. This man carried silence like a weapon. The next morning, Lily saw him again outside the stable. For a moment, she hesitated, then walked straight toward him. "You could have helped that old man," she said. The cowboy kept tightening his saddle. "Maybe. That's all you have to say?" He looked at her for the first time, and somehow his eyes looked older than the entire town. "You're new here," he said quietly. "Yes. Then learn this fast." He climbed onto his horse. Some fights cost more than they're worth. Then he rode away. Lily should have forgotten him after that, but she couldn't. Because the next few weeks became stranger and stranger. She started noticing things nobody else paid attention to. The cowboy always sat facing the door, always noticed every movement around him, always disappeared before trouble started. And once, late at night, she saw him cleaning blood off his knuckles behind the stable. But there hadn't been any fight in town. Then came the storm. A brutal winter storm rolled across Dry Creek without warning. Wind screamed through the streets. Snow buried roads overnight. Power from the generators failed. And somewhere during the chaos, Little Tommy Miller disappeared, 8 years old, son of the diner owner. The entire town panicked. Men formed search parties carrying lanterns into the mountains. But the storm was too strong. Hours passed, then more hours. Nothing. People started whispering the worst. Until someone saw horse tracks leading toward Blackstone Ridge, toward the Cowboy's cabin. The Carter brothers immediately seized the opportunity. Wade gathered half the town with rifles. I always said that freak was hiding something. Fear spread quickly. By nightfall, an angry mob marched through the snow toward the cabin. Lily went with them. Not because she believed the cowboy was guilty, but because deep down, she felt something terrible was about to happen. When they reached the cabin, Wade kicked open the door. Inside was darkness. Fireplace still burning. One plate on the table. One bed. No child. No cowboy. Then suddenly, a horse screamed outside. Everyone turned. The cowboy emerged through the blizzard, carrying Tommy wrapped tightly in his coat. The boy was alive. Frozen, but alive. Lily saw something shocking then. The cowboy himself was bleeding badly from the shoulder. Tommy cried weakly. "He saved me." The entire crowd froze. Wade stepped forward angrily. "What happened?" Tommy pointed toward the woods. "Wolves." The cowboy gently handed the child to his father, then collapsed into the snow. For the first time, Dry Creek saw fear in each other's eyes, because the wounds on the cowboy's body weren't just wolf bites. They looked like knife wounds too. Someone had attacked him out there. Lily stayed after everyone else left. She helped drag him inside the cabin. As she cleaned the blood from his shoulder, she noticed something under the candlelight. Scars. Dozens of them. Gunshots. Knife wounds. Old burns. This wasn't a normal cowboy. This was a man who had survived war, or hell itself. Then she found the locked metal box beneath his bed. At first, she ignored it, but when she reached for fresh bandages, she noticed the box was already open slightly. Inside were newspaper clippings, old photographs, wanted posters, and one name repeated over and over again: Elias Kane. Lily's breathing stopped, because even she recognized the name. Elias Kane wasn't just famous, he was a legend. The deadliest bounty hunter in Western history. A man criminals feared more than the law itself. Stories claimed he once hunted an entire gang across 3 states alone. Stories claimed he survived impossible shootouts. Some said he killed over 60 men. Others claimed over 100. But according to history, Elias Kane vanished 12 years ago after the Black Hollow Massacre. No body was ever found. People assumed he died. Lily slowly turned toward the unconscious cowboy lying beside the fire. No wonder his eyes looked haunted. No wonder he stayed silent. He wasn't hiding weakness, he was hiding the monster everyone once feared. Suddenly, the cowboy opened his eyes and saw the box. For one dangerous second, the room felt deadly quiet. "You should leave," he said weakly. "You're Elias Kane." Silence. Then finally, "Not anymore." Lily stared at him. "What happened to you?" His jaw tightened. People die around legends. The next few days changed everything. Word spread quietly through town that the cowboy had saved Tommy. People stopped mocking him openly, but Wade Carter became strangely nervous. Lily noticed it immediately. The moment Wade heard the name Elias Kane, his face changed color. That night, Lily returned to the cabin. She found Kane sitting outside, staring into the snow. "You knew the Carter brothers before Dry Creek, didn't you?" No answer. Then finally, "They had a father." Lily waited. "He ran with the Black Vultures gang." Even the name sounded cursed. Kane continued quietly.
12 years ago, I hunted them. Lily's stomach tightened. The Black Hollow Massacre. Kane nodded slowly. I killed every member of that gang. Except one.
At that exact moment, Lily understood. Wade Carter's father. He survived, Kane whispered, barely. And he came after my family. For the first time, pain cracked through the cowboy's voice. He killed my wife. Silence swallowed the air. My son, too. Lily's eyes filled with tears. That's why you disappeared? Kane nodded. I killed the man responsible, then buried Elias Kane forever. Now everything made sense. He wasn't a coward. He was a man trying desperately not to become a killer again. But danger was already moving, because that same night,
Wade Carter gathered armed men inside the saloon. Lily overheard them by accident. "He's weak now," Wade growled. "If Kane talks, everything ends for us." One of the men looked nervous. "You sure it's really him?" Wade slammed whiskey onto the table. "My father warned me about those eyes since I was a kid." Cold fear crawled through Lily. The Carter brothers weren't just ranchers. They were connected to the remnants of the Black Vultures, and they planned to kill Kane before sunrise. Lily ran through the snow toward the cabin as fast as she could, but she was too late.
Gunshots exploded across Blackstone Ridge. By the time she arrived, the cabin was burning. Men surrounded it from every side. Wade shouted into the flames, "Come out, legend!" More gunfire ripped through the walls. Lily hid behind rocks, trembling. Then suddenly, everything went silent. Too silent. The Carter men looked confused. One stepped toward the cabin door and instantly dropped dead. Single bullet, right between the eyes. Panic erupted. Another man fired wildly toward the cabin. Another shot answered. Another body fell. And then Lily finally understood why Elias Kane became a legend. Because wounded, outnumbered, surrounded by fire, he was still the most terrifying man any of them had ever seen. Kane emerged through smoke like death itself, calm, precise, unstoppable. Every bullet he fired found someone. Not wasted movement, not wasted breath, just cold survival. The Carter men scattered in fear, but Wade kept shooting blindly. "Kill him!" Then Kane spoke for the first time with real anger. "You should have stayed buried." Those words hit Wade harder than bullets.
The fight moved into the woods. Snow exploded beneath gunfire. Men screamed in darkness. Lily hid behind a fallen tree, covering her mouth to stay silent. One by one, the Carter men disappeared, until only Wade remained, bleeding, terrified, face to face with the ghost from his father's nightmares. Wade dropped his revolver into the snow. "You don't have to do this." Kane walked slowly toward him. For a moment, Lily thought he would kill him. Honestly, Wade deserved it. But Kane stopped, because killing was exactly what he'd spent 12 years trying to escape.
"Leave Dry Creek," Kane said quietly. Wade stared in disbelief. "That's it? If I ever see you again," Kane's eyes became ice, "there won't be a second warning." Wade ran, disappearing into the blizzard forever. And just like that, the legend won again. But this time, without becoming the monster people remembered. Morning came slowly to Dry Creek. The townspeople climbed Blackstone Ridge expecting death. Instead, they found burned ruins, empty snow, and silence. Elias Kane was gone. No goodbye, no reward, nothing. Only one thing remained behind in the ashes.
His black hat. Lily picked it up carefully. Inside the cabin ruins, she found one final note. 3 words written roughly across old paper. Legends deserve graves. People talked about that night for years afterward. Some claimed Elias Kane vanished into Mexico.
Others swore they saw him riding through distant deserts, helping strangers. But nobody knew the truth. Except Lily. Because 3 months later, a letter arrived for her with no return address. Inside was a single silver sheriff badge. Old. Scratched. Covered in faded bloodstains. And beneath it, one sentence.
You were right about me. Lily smiled through tears. Because the town had feared the wrong thing all along. The real danger was never the quiet cowboy. It was the evil that forced legends to wake up again. And somewhere beyond the mountains, the ghost cowboy kept riding alone. Silent. Forgotten. And still far more dangerous than anyone alive.